I'm a sucker for a bargain. And what if I told you that you didn't need to spend $250 to get a controller that was well built and it's going to do everything that you want it to? Just want to give a huge thanks to Mojhon for sending out another controller for me to review. My controller was provided to me completely free of charge, but I am not being paid to make this video. All opinions remain my own to allow me to provide you with an honest and unbiased review of the product. So if I think it's bad, I'm going to tell you. But I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler. It's not bad. And it's only $30. Let's take a look what we get. This is the Mojhon Aether, and you've probably never seen it before. That's because I have been selected as one of the first people to test this controller and review it. It's a wireless controller, very similar to an Xbox layout with offset thumbsticks and A, B, X and Y buttons. You'll notice something a little bit different about it though, right in the center. Yes, that is indeed an LCD screen. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. In the box, you do get the controller itself, the wireless 2.4 GHz dongle, and a manufacturer support card. Getting the controller in the hand feels pretty good. Not quite what you expect for a $30 controller. Everything fits together very well. It doesn't creak. The gaps between each piece are all nice and tight. There's no rattles from the controller when you shake it. The buttons don't wiggle around. It definitely feels more premium than its price tag. Let's go over the features. A, B, X and Y buttons are just your standard membrane buttons, although a little bit of extra effort has been put into these compared to what you'll find on most controllers. Even though these are membrane buttons, they feel snappy and firm, but don't require too much force to press. Other than controllers that have micro switches, these have got to be some of the best I've ever used. The analog sticks and triggers are Hall effect, so you're not going to have any stick drift, and the controller does have a hair trigger mode for those ultra fast response times in FPS games. Not only that, this controller does support up to a 1000 Hz polling rate, so input latency is going to be extremely minimal in all cases. And the benefit of this controller having Hall effect triggers means it's going to be a great all-rounder no matter what game you decide to pick up that day. This isn't just specific for FPS shooters, although I've tested it out on Black Ops 6 and it does the job just fine. The bumpers and triggers are somewhat of that Xboxy feel with the shape and layout, but the shoulder buttons feature an integrated structure. They are of one piece. They're going to be quick and easy to press with a very short travel distance. These definitely do the job just fine. As for the triggers, they do have a 256 level trigger travel design, which means delicate control in those such as racing games is definitely not going to let you down. And enabling the hair triggers in FPS games genuinely does give you a rapid response. This controller can be used seamlessly on PC, Nintendo Switch, as well as smartphones like Android devices and iOS devices, although this won't natively connect to any consoles, such as PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Additionally, you do have two remappable buttons on the back, and if you know me, you know this is a must-have. Not only that, they are the exact same buttons that you'll find on the Rainbow 2 Pro. They're a very nice size, which means they're easy to press, they're in just the right spot, and require just the perfect amount of pressure to enable them without being too light to be pressing them accidentally. I actually found these back buttons to be amongst the best I've ever used. Although this controller does not mention anything about having any gyroscope, it does use large size rumble motors for that immersive haptic feedback. I'm not really a user of any rumble features or vibration, but if you like that kind of thing, this one delivers. Okay, I'm going to stop beating around the bush now. You want to know what this screen can do? Well, I'm certainly leaving the best for last. This little screen right here means you don't need to install a single application on your PC or mobile device to fully configure the controller. Let's take a look at what it can do. Powering the controller on tells you which mode the controller is currently in, the connection status of the controller, and the battery level. So you can monitor this live and avoid the controller just powering off on you mid-game. Tapping the function key takes us into the settings, and then heading into configs is where you can adjust your dead zones, remapping the extra buttons, enabling, disabling turbo on the fly, enabling the hair triggers, and adjusting the intensity of the vibration motors. Taking a step back into the settings and then heading into modes is where you can switch from X input to switch. You can change the language. You've also got the pair option for pairing it with the dongle and via Bluetooth as well. Going into light is where you can adjust the brightness of the LCD on the controller itself. And then in info, you've just got the software version and a QR code to be able to update the controller in the future. You certainly don't expect a controller in this price range to have a feature like no other, but all these features mean nothing if the performance is poor. Let's take a look. Just find a controller that claims that it's got Hall effect sticks and just go and buy it. Because from all the controllers that I've tested, getting a controller with Hall effect sticks doesn't automatically mean it's going to be better than getting a controller with standard potentiometer stick. Because Hall effect comes with its cons as well as pros. And it's something that not a lot of people talk about or think about. Hall effect sticks are just simply not as accurate as potentiometers. And when controller companies just slap cheap ones in here just to get the job done and just so that they can claim that the controller has Hall effect sticks, it's a marketing gimmick. Now, Mojhon know how serious and competitive I am in FPS games, and they know that I will be 100% honest in all my reviews no matter what. I will not say in a video that something's good just because I want to impress anybody. If these things were bad in any way whatsoever, or not even bad, but just not good enough, I'm going to say so. But I've been using this controller for the best part of a week, as much as possible, in every game I can think of. These are really good. They're still Hall effect sticks, so if you are looking at being as competitive as possible in FPS games, and that's mainly what you play, then potentially this might not be the right controller for you. This controller is going to be for people who play a vast library of games, racing, RPG games, and occasionally casual FPS gaming. Don't get me wrong, this does the job, but like I've said, there are better controllers out there for FPS games that also come with extra features that this one doesn't have. Hall effect sticks can take some getting used to, as they've got a bit of a floaty feel and don't feel quite as snappy. But if you pick up one of these and use it to play pretty much everything, your muscle memory will get used to how they work, and these perform really, really well. There's definitely worse Hall effect sticks in controllers that cost 3 times as much. And you get all the benefits of never having stick drift. So buying a $25 controller is fine, even if you do have to replace it once every 6 months to a year. But this one's going to last way longer than that. You'll probably never have to replace this controller ever. And this thing is definitely going to impact the market. When a controller this cheap offers just overall better quality, better reliability, and is more suited and performs really well against controllers that cost twice as much that won't even last 6 months, this really does raise the competition. Controller manufacturers can no longer get away with subpar tech. Controllers now have to do what they say on the tin, otherwise they're out. And this is me trying to be as honest as possible. The more I use this controller, the more I struggle to understand how they actually kept the price so low. These back buttons feel amazing, and they're really responsive as well. Granted, there are only 2 of them, and some people would like to have 4, maybe even 6. There's controllers out there with 6 extra buttons now, but the 2 that you get come with no drawbacks. The thing about Mojhon controllers that I've tested, Mojhon are definitely focusing on the things that really matter for the price point. Although there may not be a feature about this controller that makes your jaw drop, there is nothing about this controller that you can complain about. Sure, I can say, I wish it had trigger stops or clicky triggers. But if they put that in, they would need to make the controller more expensive. But I've got to say, these triggers, not only are they just generally nice to press and nice to use, if you enable hair trigger, they are literally instant. So although you don't have a trigger stop and they're not a mechanical switch and you don't have that option, these are really fast. The performance of them is nothing to complain about. The back of the controller does have some texture to the plastic, which does help a little bit for grip, especially for those longer gaming sessions, although it's not the best. Again, this is another area where they've had to keep costs low. It's about what you would expect for a controller in this price range, but for kicking back on the couch, playing a bit of Elden Ring or a bit of Forza, this thing is beautiful. But again, I want to make it very clear that if you want to jump on Black Ops 6 and do a bit of camo grinding or play some zombies, this thing will do the job just fine, and you won't really complain about it. I certainly didn't. And if you don't know this about me already, I am really, really picky when it comes to controllers. And I've given controllers quite a bit of stick and brought some hard truths to the surface that particularly some people might not even really want to hear, especially if they're the ones who own the controller that I'm talking about. No clicky triggers or trigger stops, no motion controls, no rubber performance grips, default height thumbsticks without the option to swap the caps, and not a glimpse of RGB. But the fact that you can get a controller that you can use for any game with low input latency, again, it does support 1000 Hz wired and wireless, extra mechanical buttons, mechanical D-pad, and reliable performance. It's seriously impressive. And just to repeat, I'm not being paid to make this video. I have every right to tell you that this controller is terrible and you should not buy it. I am more than entitled to tell you that. But what I do have a responsibility to do is give you an honest review. And to be honest, if this has everything that you need, just buy it. Hell, buy two. Most of my testing with this controller has been done wirelessly with the dongle. And just like the Blitz 2 controller from Mojhon that I reviewed last month, the wireless performance is some of the most reliable and the most stable. It doesn't take long at all to forget that there isn't even a cable plugged into the controller. With other controllers that I've tested, even some of my favorite controllers that I will happily recommend, using the wireless dongle, you do know that it's a wireless connection. Every so often, you will just be reminded that it's not quite as stable as plugging in a cable. Mojhon controllers, so far, I don't know what they're putting in their dongles, but they just work. It might be down to the fact that the dongle that comes with the controller, with all of their controllers, tend to be a little bit larger than what you find with other controllers like the Cyclone 2 from GameSir. Those dongles are really, really small, and I don't know whether size matters or not. I'm sure you can tell me about that in the comments. By the way, let's just keep it PG-13, please, if we can. But maybe the fact that these are bigger, that's why they're better. Again, guys, please just be mature about it, okay? Another thing to mention about this controller, again, honesty is just getting the best of me today. The battery life of this thing will go the extra mile. With only a 600 milliamp hour battery, it is clear that the simplicity of the controller makes it really efficient. So the fact that it's not absolutely jam-packed with a bunch of extra features that you may or may not need, quite clearly makes it very efficient. I got almost 12 hours out of this thing before I needed to charge it. And that was over the course of about a week and a half. So even when you're not using the controller, it does hold its power. The analog sticks feel great. The triggers, although they don't have trigger stops, feel great. No complaints. The bumpers feel great no matter where you press them, whether it's on the outside or the inside or the middle. They're easy to press. They've got a really nice click to them. The D-pad also feels really good. The only downside obviously is it doesn't have the diagonal inputs, but the inputs that you do have, they are light to press, don't require too much force, and they're nice and clicky so you know you've pressed them, and they've got a very short travel on them as well. The D-pad isn't spongy or wobbly in any way. The face buttons, membrane just feels natural. It's what we've been using for the past 20 years, but these aren't sloppy in any way whatsoever. They've got a really nice snappy press and they feel great. And 1000 Hz with an input latency hovering around the 1 millisecond mark, which again, controllers that cost 5 times as much can't always say the same. So there we have it, the Mojhon Aether. You will catch us live right here on YouTube every Wednesday and Sunday from 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload or when we go live. For now, go kick some ass and we'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.